Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Weekly Critically, the show where myself and Crash Overlord take one of your decks for a test ride and then suggest some changes. How you doing, Crash?
Hey, I'm doing good. And yeah, today we'll be looking at Cursed NR. The deck is extremely potent in the amount of points and can pull out through the use of Kadvani Revenants in combination with spells and whatnot, but it's also quite vulnerable, and we'll be looking at those vulnerabilities and the strengths today.
Yep, so the basic gist of the deck is we have these Kadvani Revenants. When you play your next spell or item, it then spawns another copy. And then if you play another spell or item, that copy spawns a copy. And they only do this once, but you can kind of chain out Revenants. And we do have lots of spells, so we have some Elder's Thunders here. We've got Flail, we've got Shackles, we've got Vandergriff's Blade, Scorch, Deathmaul can give us spells. Ragnarok is actually a spell, but Karathi Heatwave is not a spell. Triss can pull spells, so lots of kind of synergies there, and this deck came from a player called Blinky. So without further ado, let's jump into a game and showcase this deck.
Squesme Evelian.
You are here as a diversion, for my pleasure alone.
And we're looking at the mulligan screen here, and the first thing we'll notice is obviously we have the Dun banner in our deck, which we really definitely don't want to have in our hand. And second of all, we have some good blacklisting targets in the form of Azur's Thunder, because they're oftentimes best played from Tormented Mage. So definitely blacklist that before you go on to mulliganing your other Dun banner.
Yeah, it means that we are accepting that we're going to have Shackles in our hand, but that's sometimes the case with this deck, is you're going to end up with one or two spells or items because you have the Dun banner to blacklist, and you want to blacklist, you know, your Flails and your Shackles and your Elzer's Thunder, so it can be a little bit of a problem. We're going first. What do you like as opener? Do you want to throw out a Kadvani Revenant, as is the kind of staple of the deck?
Yeah, you kind of just need to set up your engine. And I mean, this deck obviously plays really slowly to start off, because you know you have to play a 4 from your hand and whatnot. But that's why the Dun banner is so good in this deck as well, right? We'll see that if our opponent tries to outtempo us just a bit too hard, then we'll just catch up by getting 12 free points.
Yeah, so here we have choices. We can choose to res Sabrina and hope we draw more Revenants later on, or we can try and roll Ada and try and find either a Sabrina or a Spectre, or a Revenant doing that. What do you prefer here?
So a big thing is that, like, if we just Sabrina it out, if we just resurrect the Revenant, I think our opponent is just gonna pass and take the 2-card advantage. This is a big problem of the deck and weakness, right? It has such low tempo that sometimes you just end up going 2 cards down if your engines aren't set up. So I think Ada's the better choice, and maybe you find something that's, you know, high enough tempo here.
I mean, we can play the Revenant, but it does put us on even.
Yeah.
or we play Vincent. I don't really like Vincent.
I actually just kind of like Revenant. Putting us on even at least gives us this draw option, so we're only half a card behind in what will essentially be round 3 if we take the draw. But our hand is looking pretty good, honestly. We've got a R&R, so unless our opponent has an Ida, we're looking extremely strong into round, you know, a long round.
Yeah, and usually they'll use that Ida to remove your Revenant, so
You should not have come
it's
here.
kind of a good situation for us.
Oh, Melissa.
And he's chosen to actually play, so he doesn't want the draw.
Mm-hmm. So we're looking at a really good opportunity for us as well, because now our engine is gonna start rolling, and we're gonna see the power in the deck, right? A Tormented Mage here might not get full value, right? Because Sword Standard only hits for 6 or for 7 on the Roach.
Yeah, but what we can do is we could use the Flail to kill one of his elves. That then spawns us the little Spectre, and we then also spawn another Kadvani, so we should be ahead at that point.
Mm-hmm. That's really good. And I think you want to hit the healer rather than the Elven Scout, just in case he might, you know, later on in the round want to play something like a Hattori. He won't have a target unless he buffs Hattori, right?
Yeah, so that does play around Hattori. So just kind of thinking about what is in their graveyard, because graveyard strategy is something that a lot of people don't necessarily utilize, and it's one of those things that can give you an edge. You know, playing even against Alchemy that has graveyard, a lot of Skellige has graveyard, and even now Scoia'tael has graveyard. So thinking about what's in their graveyard and what you're putting in their graveyard can make the difference between a win and a loss.
Mm-hmm. And a big thing about this deck that like I experienced somewhat recently is the Cadweni Revenants that are made, like the copies from the original, are actually doomed. So if you spawn a copy and your copy gets killed, you cannot resurrect it with Sabrina.
There is no escape.
An opponent made that mistake recently versus me, and he ended up losing the game off of it because he just played a 3-point silver.
Yeah, so this one didn't die, which means we kind of want to play a spell here, but we have to think about what it is that we want to do. We have a Scorch on the 2/7s, which gives us 14 plus another Revenant that would put us on even. If we want to make that play, I don't think it's going to catch us. We're going to catch him otherwise with any of our other cards.
So the thing is, I don't think we'll be able to. I mean, we don't have enough tempo to take the lead, so we might as well just play a more of a passing type play with something like a Tormented Mage, Thunder, and if our opponent tries to out-tempo us even more, which so far he's tried to do, then our Dawn Banner might actually be unlocked.
That is true. It seems that our opponent doesn't want to go, doesn't want to lose 2 cards down. They really want this round. Although I say that and then they pass.
Well, gives us
We can win with Shackles.
Yeah, it gives us a good option to use our Shackles. It is the weakest card in our hand. It doesn't put a body on board, and it's really reactive. So, good use of it here.
There's nothing here that we really want to lock. Like, if there was a Morkvarg, then lock Vower and Orgyid because stops it coming back. But in this situation, we can more or less lock whatever. And that puts us ahead. We are down, however, 1 card.
Mm-hmm. And if our opponent also has War Dancer, oof.
Yeah, if our opponent has War Dancer, we're going to be a card down. In which case, usually I feel like playing that round is just worth it because you're going to be a card down regardless, right? So you may as well do it where they have less chance to mulligan. We don't have a bad hand here, though.
Yeah, honestly, passing might not be the worst thing ever. We're looking really strong in a long round 3, right?
That is true. We do have the weather. We've got 2 Kidwenny Revenants, so we should be able to get a decent amount of chaining. We've got Villain Threat and Mirth. We've got Scorch, so we can remove big targets. So extending the length around, not bad, but then Francesca usually has those elf synergies, so...
Yeah, on the other hand, like we could use all of that long round potential in this round and then just go into a short round 3 with that villain, with that Scorch, and maybe win through the power of just that as a finisher. I'm not sure what is better, and I'll leave the final decision up to you, Jag.
Oh, just make it difficult for me. I like playing into this round, personally. I think that there may be the case that our opponent draws badly. We can start with low tempo, so we can try and thin the Dun Banner, because at the moment we haven't done that, which means that if we go into the next round, we might draw into Dun Banner, and that's going to make our life even more difficult. So I quite like playing into this round.
Mm-hmm. That's definitely true. Too bad we didn't draw Thaler. Thaler would have been an amazing draw to have here, just to be able to essentially, potentially just get a free card back if the opponent didn't have a spy to, play.
Yeah, and it does make a big difference here, so that's why you would probably consider, if you are running the Thaler Dun Banner combo, to include Alzur's Double Cross as well, because that gives you extra access to your Thaler, because you don't have, him, you don't have Broover, you don't have those cards that guarantee the draw on your, Spy. So you may as well put that silver in there to, at least increase the chances that you'll draw into it, or draw something that will draw into it.
Mm-hmm. And Alzur's Thunder is also a not Alzur's Thunder, sorry. Alzur's Double Cross is also a spell, so it does trigger the Revenants. So you've even got some extra synergy in there. What do you think about just throwing down that R&R right now?
I think our opponent will row stack, but they're already row stacking. So I think at this point it gives us points over time. So the question is, if we wait 1 turn, will he play a big enough target on a different row? And the answer is, I don't know. Usually you stack for 2 reveal and then go from there. And the thing is, we don't have a great Alza's target anyway. So in this situation, I quite like that. The alternative, though, is we play Curse Knight onto Sabrina.
I'd rather just wait on the Curse Knight, because you can get more value from it, right? By hitting a 2 rather than 3 later. And unless he specifically plays a big unit in a different row right now, we're losing value.
Yeah, we have seen that either, which means that we're quite happy to play Weather, because he basically is very unlikely to have any more clear, unless he high rolls it off an Elven Scout. That's famous last words right there, Crash.
Here comes Hattori Elven Scout into Vrihid Brigade, I think it's called. The names of cards I never see are hard to remember. But yeah, we're looking solid, honestly. We have a lot of bleeding potential here. And again, we're not really super high tempo. He's very likely to play, 13 points here. And that will trigger Dunbanner, which gives us that option of actually gaining that card advantage back. Or, well, not card advantage, but gaining a card back.
Yep. Here comes a spy on our side, though.
That's pretty rough. It's going to be really hard to trigger the Dunbanner now, but I think what we do here is probably just try and out-tempo him as much as we can and, get the value from our spells, get the value from our Revenants while we still can, and then go into a super short round 3 with the use of Villain, Scorch, and maybe another top deck card.
I still think we play Curse Knight over the Alzas. I mean, we lose 3 damage on this, whereas we lose, 2 points on this?
Oh, yeah, for that I
One point on this. So let's just turn you into a knight. Sorry, whatever your name was, you're now a skeleton on a horse.
Skeletons are known professional riders of horses.
And there you go. I didn't know that, but.
And why do you think Tormented Mage looks like such a good horse rider?
Well, just look at him. He's having a great time. Actually, his horse is a skeleton too. Oh, that's gross. If this was premium, oh man. Feels bad. Remember when we talked about Elven Scout high rolling?
Yeah, that feels bad. So the question here is, if we pass, does our opponent have 12 points to play into the same row? Now, yeah, Half-Elf Hunter does that. And all of his elves have been buffed by 1 in his hand. And he still has golds available. And probably has the Mulligan elves as well. So I'm not sure if passing does anything other than just make us go into a semi-long round 3, 2 cards down.
Yeah, we're not in a great situation here. And this is where I think the bronzes kind of hurt us. Because we had a Dimmertium Shackles and if we'd had another Flail. Flail is really nice in these situations because Flail allows you to kill one of these and still get, similar value to an Alzur's Thunder. But because we only have 1 Flail and we utilized it in the first round, and we couldn't blacklist Flail or Dimmertium Shackles because we have 1 of each, this is where it can kind of make the deck really awkward. And these are some of the things we'll look into when we talk about changing the deck.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, this is where it starts becoming kind of really hard to keep up. Our Revenant is dead. We don't have an engine left, and we're kind of just playing 11-point bronzes. Sure, Weather's on board, but there's only so much Weather does.
I think we take the pass here, because at least the Weather's going to put him down a point, which means he'd have to play 1 more card, which means we won't be 3 cards down going into the next round.
Yeah.
But it's not a great situation for us either way.
Definitely looking a bit rough. Especially since Francesca can also take it right now. It means that he essentially just gets 3 points of carryover without really sacrificing anything for it, right?
Yeah.
My folk have suffered much.
It's not the bestest of situations.
On the other hand, Villain Threaten Mirth is going to find a target, and our Dunbanner are still in the deck, which means that if we draw a Thaler, or if our opponent just, plays Tempo, we're still going to get 12 free points, which, is better than 3 free points.
So, I don't think that we should throw here, because we're going to draw a Dunbanner,
Yeah.
but I really want to throw this. Like, it's one of those situations where maybe we should just take the risk, but as soon as I click it, we're going to get a Dunbanner.
Yeah, I think you have to, otherwise we have no chance of winning, so I think you have to take it. And even in this situation, sure, we lose 2 points, but I'm doubtful we're gonna lose by 2 points.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm doubtful we're gonna lose by 2 points as well.
So we have to be...
We're gonna lose by lots of points.
Oh my, even Epidemic. Oh my. Oh me, oh my. Yeah, kind of...
We have to be careful that we don't have it, the problem is if he doesn't play anything bigger, our Scorch is dead. I think he's gonna play something bigger.
That looks like it's a Steruvial as well, which is surprising in a Mulligan list. Generally, you'd see Malena and maybe 1 Sappers.
Some lists like to run both of them. I mean, there we saw, that's a sapper. We saw another one coming out. I guess we just take the Elzers here and hope he plays something bigger, or that we can burn the sapper when it flips.
But it can't. We can't. It flips a turn.
Oh, it flips afterwards. Oh no. Oh no. Not like this, Crash. Not like this.
This is where he plays an 11-point Villain Threaten Worth somehow. Not sure how he'd get it, because Villain Threaten Worth isn't an elf, but you know.
If he plays a Freehead Officer and mulligans something.
Yeah, we've only seen one officer, that's true.
Or he could not mulligan something. What is this tactical choices?
This is,
If we pass, it flips and we lose. If we scorch, we lose. Oh no. Oh no.
I think it's a loss, Jag.
Oh man. I think it's all over. Never mind. Right. Well, let's get to the deck builder. Let's make a few improvements to the deck, and let's try this again. I think that's a good plan.
Yeah. Okay, so that was not the best game of Cursenara I've ever seen, and I think there's a few things we can change to actually increase the consistency, especially of this type of deck. We kind of saw that we didn't even see 2 of our goals, we didn't see our spy, we didn't see, half our silvers or so. And what I would like to do that is kind of like, to increase the consistency, I would like to add cards that, have targeted draw. In this scenario, I would love to add an ADC. And I think the best card to remove is Vandergriff's Blade. It's a very situational card that, even in best case scenario, is only trading 1-for-1 for your opponent's cards, right? And taking Vandergriff's out of our deck, I think Kian also loses a lot of value. We can find a better replacement for that, and this is obviously up to personal preferences and how you want to, structure your own deck. We're looking at Uma's Curse as a potential card. It's a spell, so it triggers Revenants, and then it's creating a goal, which on average is pretty good. Sometimes it hits, Telekinesis that you're running anyways, and then it's perfect. We've got Karametz. It has 2 of the 3 options are spells or an item, and then it's amazing value. And it's very flexible as well, which makes it great. We've also got Aguara True Form, I believe it's called, as another option, another spell. Maybe a second, or technically a third Scorch if we count Villain Threaten Mirth as a Scorch. But, a bit less good in NR compared to SK, because there's no Restore in NR, obviously.
Aguera can give you Restore, and if we get Restore here, it's just... None of these are Skilliga cards, surprisingly.
But,
I think we go Kira.
Mm-hmm. That's definitely a good choice. And then I think we should look at the bronzes as well. Chag?
Yeah, we saw just kind of how awkward Dimmerteam Shackles is, and there's a reason a lot of people don't really rate this card. It's because it's so low tempo, and like a lot of our cards are already low tempo. Like playing the Revenant is 4 points. That is crazy low tempo. So playing maybe like a 2 into a 4 that spawns a 4 is 10 points. Like 10 points isn't a tempo play, and you need to have some ways of generating tempo with your spells and your items. So I understand why this has been included. Also, Cayenne, I believe, draws Alchemy, so it gives you an extra Cayenne target, but we're taking Cayenne out. And as far as I'm concerned, Dimeridium Shackles is coming out, and Bloody Flail is going in. Because having a second Flail gives you those options when you get those situations where there's a lot of small units. So we saw that. We had a lot of Alzur's Thunders that just didn't have targets. But by having an extra Flail in there, it gives you an option for those situations. Mm-hmm. And works out as actually 1 more point than an Alzur's Thunder.
Mm-hmm. And this is another meta call. Alzur's Thunder is great when it hits engines in the form of, a reinforced trebuchet and whatnot. But you make a meta call. If you're killing those, you're running Alzur's Thunder because it's much better than just doing 5, gaining a 5 body. But if we're looking at a meta where nobody's running engines, you don't really have to remove anything, and you just want to generate points, then a Bloody Flail might be better than an Alzur's Thunder. So you might actually think of running the opposite, so triple Flail, double Thunder. And then there's one other change I like personally, and I know Jag kind of doesn't agree with me on this one, but I'll try and explain as best as I can why I like it. I would like to take out Curse Knight, for a reverse scout. The reason I personally really like this is that it gives us bronze thinning to increase the chance of us drawing golds and silvers later on in the game. Now, the strength of the deck straight up does go down. With a perfect draw, a reverse scout is weaker than a curse knight because curse knight has a lot of synergy with Sabrina. It's really good if they damage one of your cursed units down to 1. It's great even in round 3 to just like, you know, Sabrina curse knight onto a 2-point Olgierd, for example. But I think a reverse scout will increase consistency to the point that it will actually increase win percentage more than that power play.
Yeah, it adds into that thinning that you mentioned was kind of missing from the deck. So you can use it to, you know, get these tormented mages, which in turn gets a spell. So you're playing 1 card, but that plays 3 cards. So that is a decent amount of thinning, and that is something that's really nice. So I don't hate this, but I can see the argument also for something like a Curse Knight, especially when cards like Igni were a bit more prevalent, because Curse Knight can block the row, which means you don't have a row full of 4s that your opponent is just going to burn. But I think I like the changes that we've made, so let's jump into a game and see how they work out.
Men of Kedwen, attack!
What is it I fancy today?
So here we are, we've got a Henselt, and the first thing you always do is blacklist the Dunbanner. That's an easy choice. Then you want to blacklist the Elsa's Thunder, because we also don't want to draw into those. We got 1 flail, but that's kind of okay. It's kind of okay.
Yeah, we've got 5 targets for, you know, tormented mages in our deck. So even if out of age, we've got plentiful like options there. We can Sabrina a tormented mage often enough, and drawing one of those items or spells isn't the worst thing ever. You can always toss it later, and with Revenants, it's still great points.
The issue we do have, though, is we don't have any K20 Revenants. So what do you do in this situation? Do you high roll your Ada, or do you play the Thaler and just thin your Dunbanners and hope to find one through him?
I think I kind of just like playing Teller here. It gives us your opponent kind of an option of either he passes or he has to have his own spy. If he continues playing, we just go up to cards and we're looking pretty solid already.
So Alza's Double Cross gives us Olgierd, or we can take Ragnarok.
I really like Olgierd.
Yeah, I think the carryover is going to be kind of important. Even though I like Ragnarok as well, but I think, like, Henselt row stacks anyway, so Ragnarok isn't really as good.
Now, small problem, ADC doesn't overtake. It's 1 point too little, but I think even besides that, we still wanted to take it just because it's so good. And what card do we actually use to win the round here?
I think you thin a Elsa's Thunder with a Tormented Mage.
That's not enough.
Oh wait, that's not enough. No. Oh, that's tough. We could Scorch?
I like personally saving Scorch for Villain Threatenworth in this weird way if that is a villain deck, but I could
So,
also see
Death Mold?
using it.
Death Mold? Kira? Like,
I
not
would
Kira,
rather
sorry, Triss.
Death Mold, right?
Your will be
Let's
done.
just zap him then.
Yeah. Zap him. Zap him down.
Zap him. I guess it depends what kind of Henselt deck is, because the Scorch may see value, but it may be a bit awkward. It depends on what it is that he plays. We also have to be a little bit wary of his Dunbanner, because it's something that could happen, and also his Thaler, because if he plays Thaler, that's blocking our Scorch. So I didn't hate Scorch there as a play,
Yeah, definitely
but
not.
let's throw a Flail.
Ooh, and a Revenant, that's really good. I personally really like thinning here. If we go into a super long round versus a 4-card Henselt, I don't think we're looking that great. Potentially our board gets filled. Whereas if we can thin him out, get carryover on board, and not fall cards behind, then we're looking very solid.
So do we go for the Kidweni strategy here if we're trying to thin him? Because that's going to give us tempo in a longer round. So I think that's not too bad. Also, it puts one in the graveyard, which means we have a target for Sabrina. Because at the moment, like, none of these are cursed. So I don't mind that play.
And this is another...
And the thing is...
Oh.
I was going to say it's really awkward for his machines, because his machines, usually they do like 3-4 damage. So then if he damages this one, we just play a spell and then make a new one that he then has to start damaging to try and kill. So the Revenants are a little bit of a pain in this matchup for the Henselt.
Yeah, and if he doesn't damage it, if he plays like a dollar, we always have the option of, you know, playing a reverse scout here. Now, a big thing, I think this is a massive mistake from him. If we actually pass here, I don't think he can catch up in a card, and we end up being a card up in round 3. I'm not sure if that's good enough to win the game, but it is a card advantage. What do you think of that?
I think it's worth it, especially because he's trying to get his Dunbanner thinned, and he's gonna have worse draws than us. Admittedly, we haven't managed to thin here, but I think that's okay because we already took our Dunbanners out. And him being a card down, we have a lot of removal, so we can potentially leave him with a dead Hensel as well. So I actually really like the pass here, given the kind of situation that we're in versus the situation that he's in. And we've got this guy in our graveyard, so we get another one with Sabrina. The only thing we haven't played here is Orgeared, and this is maybe where you could have an argument against Orgeared in the deck, because sometimes you get situations like this.
Ooh, a Natalis can do it. That's true. That is a card that can definitely catch up if he's got a Natalis and rolls well. I might have misjudged the situation a tad bit, but I think that's still a big play he's used. He's used Thaler, he hasn't been done Banner, and he ended up using, you know, one of his golds, one of his strongest golds.
Yeah, and we drew into a Revenant, so we've got 2 on board.
We've actually...
the only hard part is playing both of them, because if we play one, he'll start damaging them usually.
We've actually got access to 3 Revenants just because we have that reverse scout as well.
Yeah, that is true. So he's got towers. Is he going to Hensel these?
I doubt
We can't
it.
kill it in one. That's the only thing. It's just whether you can deny the Hensel target, but there's no actual way, unless we Scorch, that we can kill this in one go.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth denying. If he's using Henselt on this, that means he's not damaging our Revenants, and that means that, you know, we get to play double Revenants on board, and then each spell is +8.
That is true, and then we could get potentially a third one. But we do want to use this Reaver Scout because that's the only target we have for it, so we want to use a Reaver Scout on this bad boy. Now, even though like we could play a spell and duplicate it.
Yeah, I
First.
don't mind the duplication first. I don't think we're in a hurry to play Reaver Scout here. The only, you know, potential problem is if after we play Sabrina, he's immediately able to kill it, and if he plays Henselt here. But if he's playing Henselt here, he's not really killing that much on our board, so he's kind of wasting power as well. Oh, not that he can play Henselt. Haha.
Yeah, that's definitely something to consider, is denying those Hensel targets. He may have a Shani, so he may res it, but this also denies the Hensel. Instead of us working to develop our board, we're looking to remove his board, which, you know, is, I think, equally a viable strategy. He's got a second one.
And we can do that again. I don't really mind.
No, I don't hate this as a strategy because we're denying him killing the Revenant. Whereas if we pause in our spells, that gives him a chance to kind of think, oh, hey, she's denying all my Revenants. What do we do?
Yeah, and
the thing is, we have Alzas on Triss, because this is likely to give us Alzas, because it's in our deck. We have Alzas on Kiramets. So we have a lot of removal for his machines in this sort of situation.
Yeah.
And that might just be a 3-point Hensel.
These dogs have no
might
honor.
be. That's a pretty big, you know, commitment. And we just have Reaver Scout to work on that.
But we're broke as shit peddlers.
So what I'm going to do here is I've put this on this row because we want to put our Kidweni Revenants on different rows ideally. And so we can, this row's already got units on it, so we can start filling these rows with Revenants instead. Although the one concern in a long round like this is whether we will be okay to, actually play all of these cards, because you can get too many Revenants. That is something... Oh shit, we got Flail. I forgot we didn't have any... Oh no, I thought we were going to get Alzers. I should have played the Cure there.
It's okay. If he had played the... Reinforced Ballista from hand, so that means that if he does Hensel that, he's at the maximum only getting 2 from deck, which I think if he's doing that, I think we're still in an okay spot. And we have another Revenant.
Pass on every 10th round.
That's the scary part though, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that was why I was kind of concerned about it, because if he Hensels that, we're going to lose our Revenant. So if we imagine this Revenant's kind of dead anyway, are we better to just remove his targets? And if we want to remove his targets, would we rather remove this one or this one?
I think we'd rather remove the KSM because it's also crewman on board.
Right, so this should give us an Elzas here. I forgot that we had 2 flails and that was something that we could roll.
Our magic shall protect you.
So we'll just keep killing his cards for now.
I think we're still looking okay. Our Scorch is potentially still going to be absolutely disgusting, especially if he uses Hanseld on his 7s. Because what we can do is damage the Saltkirk and then Scorch the 3 7s that he's gonna play.
Yeah, and it also means if he has a Scorch, everything that we've played is tiny. So, not a great situation. Oh, so he had another one of these in hand.
What do you think about playing a Revenant now?
Yeah, I think this is where it's, you know, the safest time to play a Revenant. He's likely to kill it anyway, and this kind of forces him to commit onto a 4-strength target.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really mind it too much.
I am ready.
Okay. This is a good time to play it, I think, as well.
I mean, the alternative is we can res one of these and take a flail.
I think that's okay, but it doesn't really... maybe that is stronger. We can kill this. We can hit the Saltkirk down to 6. I don't know.
Yeah, and he's likely to kill it anyway. But then on the flip side, this way he has to invest his battering rams on things that he doesn't want to invest his battering rams on. He doesn't have a pocket, so maybe we take the risk.
I think I'd like taking the risk, honestly. If he has to cancel 1 unit here to be able to kill this, and then we're putting him on, do you have a second KSM in hand, or were you saving that as a potential Hansel target? Or are you gonna use Shani here? I guess Shani on KSM is the worst thing that could happen for us. But on the other hand, his deck still has 10 cards, so the chance of him having 3 golds in hand is already fairly low.
I'm a medic. I tend to know what I
And there's the Shani onto the
Gentlemen,
KSM. And we can just kill this with Kira. So again, denying that Hansel. And hopefully he has Dun Banners in hand. That's kind of the point we're getting to here, is we're hoping to see some Dun Banners so that, you know, we have that edge. The alternative is you try and roll with Ada, but I think denying his Hansel is more important at this stage. Like, this round has gone on long enough to the point where if we can deny his Hansel and he's got maybe a couple Dun Banners, he's got 3s and 4s, whereas we've got this into a spell, we've got Ada, we've got Scorch on 2 7s at the moment, and then we can play Elza's Double Cross at some point later on to pull Olgierd.
Yeah, we have to be careful not to use the ADC too early, because the Olgierd could potentially block, you know, our Scorch.
Yeah, the only problem here is I would imagine he's trying to find Winch, which, you know, to find that Hansel target. So then we would be better off trying to kill the Hansel target than damaging the Selkirk. But if we do that, then we get a smaller... Okay, that's not his Hansel target.
That is not his Hansel target, so we're definitely gonna look to damage that Saltkirk.
I will not let this become a second Sidon.
This is more points.
Yep.
It's 1 more point, so let's just hit him. And it does mean if the guy himself is running a Villain Mirth or a Scorch, it's not looking so good.
Honestly, if he's gonna play Villain Mirth now, then we can just have it kind of time out, and it'll Scorch himself, right? In a sense. Or we can see if Ada finds us a bloody, a Tormented Mage, and that will pull another Bloody Flail.
But Villain Mirth doesn't burn himself anymore, so it would burn his 7s.
Yeah, which is still good, no?
But then we'd have to not play anything bigger than a 7.
Yeah.
With Ada and ADC, and not play our Scorch. So it gets a little bit awkward in that situation.
It's close. It's interesting. And I'm fairly sure if he doesn't play his is that a Neneke?
Are you wounded? Again?
That's pretty scary. I think we just have to find Ada Tormented Mage here.
You are here as a diversion.
Or
For
that-
my
Oh, we got
pleasure
Damn Sorceress. But we don't have a target. Like, we should have waited until he played his Hansel target.
No, but we need to find a Scorch value, right?
And I guess we would have gotten 10 on the Scorch. But yeah, we can play Damn Sorceress and just hit this. And I mean, we've got a 21-point Scorch.
Yeah. Maybe maybe denying Hansel was a bigger deal, but that's also assuming that he does have a battering ram in hand,
Men of Kedwen!
Oh.
Attack!
which apparently no, he doesn't. And that's a pretty big scourge for us.
That is a pretty big scourge for us. Oh my god.
Is it big enough?
Is it enough though? It's 35. So we would be... It comes down to whether his card is better than our Elzer's. So here we go. Bye.
You will vanish. We shall cast you into
Well,
oblivion.
We're probably gonna
Here's
lose
to
now.
hoping that
Come
it's
on.
not a bloody... And that's a win!
Hey, that's a win. He had a scorch. That was fantastic. That was all around playing around Scorch and, you know, making sure we had small targets, and that's something that this deck does. And trying to deny his Hensel. That's such a fun matchup with this deck, is the Hensel into Curse, because it can go either way. I 100% think like that deck could have gone either way. He didn't draw any Dunbanners, despite the fact that he never thinned them. And if that were me, I would have drawn a handful of Dunbanners. I don't know about you, Crash, but whenever it's me, it's like, oh, I haven't got Dunbanners, and it's round 2. Here's 2 Dunbanners. Oh, you wanted to mulligan one of those? Well, unfortunately, here's the 3rd one.
Let's think about this. His deck had 10 more cards and he drew 3 golds. It was a good draw by him, and definitely it wasn't a bad draw by us either, by no means necessary either, but that was a well played game, and I think we played to our outs and we got our outs as well.
Yeah, and hopefully you guys can see how the few small changes that we made did help the deck. You know, we saw Kira having removal there. We saw the value of being able to find the Thaler. Admittedly, we didn't use Elza's double cross for that, but, you know, increasing the consistency with the Thaler always helps. And you saw the value of flails over whether we'd had a lock. If we'd had a shackles there, that wouldn't have been so good for us. And also the Reaver Scout really came in, you know, on top as well, because it was forcing him to remove Revenants, which he didn't really want to do.
Mm-hmm. Now, big thing is ADC, you know, even if it doesn't hit Teller, it still hits Olgerd, and in a situation where you're able to actually play Olgerd early on in the game before your opponent, you know, has to pass, or you have to pass because, you know, Dunbanner Cavalry versus a Hansel, it still gives you that carryover in round 1, which is obviously really useful. So I like the inclusion of ADC, and especially since it still has synergy with Revenants, it's a great card.
Yeah, and we really saw the removal come into play there, because the fact that we removed all of his Kidweni Siege Masters and stuff forced him to play those Ballista as his Hensel target. It gave us 35 points in our Scorch, and although we didn't deny his Hensel target, we kind of did, because we burned all of his Ballista.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Anyway, guys, that was the weekly Critically, and if you want to submit your own deck and have us play that, then there will be a link in the description below to our Discord, where you can post the deck in the Topdeck Critique channel. If you've enjoyed the video, you can leave a like and leave a comment, and also if you want to follow us, you can find me on Twitch as Jaggerous and on YouTube as Jaggerous. What about you, Crash?
You can also find me on Twitch, Crash_Overlord, and check out our YouTubes as well. We both run our own YouTubes, and they're pretty top of the line, if I would say so myself.
Yeah, pretty top deck, if you ask me.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I'll leave. I'll leave now. This is a good time to end. Thanks for watching, guys, and hopefully we'll catch you next week. Bye!
Bye-bye.